people that disappeared and were never found. On March 18, 1990, Frank Gotti, the 12-year-old son of mob boss John Gotti, went to a friend's home to ride his friend's minibike. Unfortunately, Frank was hit and killed by a vehicle as he rode the minibike around the neighborhood. The man driving the car that hit him was 51-year-old John Favara, the Gotti's backyard neighbor. Favara was not charged, as the incident was determined to be accidental. The Gotti family was not forgiving. Favara received death threats, and he almost got hit in the head with a baseball bat by Frank's mother when he went to apologize to the Gotti family. Favara knew he was in danger, but he didn't leave town fast enough. 4 months later, witnesses saw him being kidnapped near his business and thrown into a van. Frank's mother commented on his disappearance saying, "I don't know what happened to him, but I'm not sorry if something did. He never sent me a card, he never apologized, he never even got his car fixed." Favara was never seen again, and his body has not been found.
Sergeant Gibson!
Do what?
I shot Sergeant Gibson! I pulled a gun on him because he's advancing on me.
Is he breathing?
He just fell out!
James City County police officer Michael Rusk called 911 after he allegedly shot his superior officer, Sergeant Christopher Gibson, outside a Williamsburg bar, where the two had been drinking together. Jason Rusk says his son told him about unwanted attention he got from his superior officer leading up to the shooting, and that he had reported it to others on the force.
There was a year's worth of grooming that had taken place.
Rusk says his son is the victim of unwanted sexual advances and had been for a long time.
Extremely inappropriate touching, stalking, the grooming, the previous to the incident assaults.
The video shows the officers at the bar prior to the shooting. You can see them sitting across from each other at the start. Then you'll see Gibson move in to sit next to Rusk. Gibson reaches for Rusk's hand under the table, which seems to be met with hesitation from the younger officer. Then, just about an hour before the shooting, the two are seen leaving together. After Gibson puts his hand on Rusk's shoulder, you see Rusk forcefully push him off and put a finger in his face before walking away. We don't know what happened next, but after the shooting, Rusk makes this claim to the 911 dispatcher.
I told him to stop! He kept going! I thought he was gonna help me! Help!
If our client was a female, this case would be drastically different.
This is how rappers died. On June 18, 2018, XXXTentacion, real name Yase Onfroy, went to Riva Motorsports with $50,000 cash to purchase a bike. Little did he know that a group of men had spotted his vehicle and were planning to rob him. Two of the men walked inside Riva Motorsports to confirm he was the famous rapper they had seen on social media. When Onfroy and his relative left, a vehicle came out of nowhere and cut them off. Two men in masks hopped out and tried to grab Onfroy's bag of cash. There looked to be a struggle, and shots were fired. The men grabbed the bag and took off. Onfroy was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. Within 2 months, 4 men were in custody. One of the men, Robert Allen, copped a plea deal and received 7 years for testifying against the other 3 men. His testimony helped put them in jail for life. This
Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Fort Lee County, Florida. Criminal action. State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number 19 CF 0568. Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follow as to the defendant in this case. Count 1. First-degree murder, Christine Melton. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2. Grand theft motor vehicle. The defendant is guilty of grand theft motor vehicle. Count 3. Battery. The defendant is guilty of battery. Count 4. First-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 5. Burglary of dwelling. The defendant is guilty of burglary of a dwelling. Count 6, first-degree petty theft. The defendant is guilty of first-degree petty theft. Dated 6/12/24, so say we all, 4-person. In the circuit court of
This is part 3 of our investigation, where we're examining police photos and evidence from inside her home. From the evidence, here's a picture of their kitchen showing the fridge with 2 locks on it. She testified that he was on a hunger strike. Why would you lock up a fridge if he was on a hunger strike? She contradicted herself by saying that he was being sneaky and sneaking food, and there were a bunch of cans and wrappers. So, they started locking everything up. Now let's take a look inside. Do you think she had enough to share with him? I think it's okay if he snuck a few, but how much food does she have in this fridge? This is for her and her 3 boys who lived at her house, but she only fed Timothy bread or bread with hot sauce. Now this is the kitchen from the Zillow rental listing. They rented this place for $1,800 a month. That's the same fridge that came with the rental, right? This is it after she moved in, with 2 locks on the freezer and 2 locks on the refrigerator that you have to use a key to open. And then she instructed Paul to 2. Tempt him with a frozen pizza roll and be prepared to pull it away when he grabs for it to see if he will react, because she thought he was faking being a little larger when he was only 69 pounds, 15 years old, because she had starved him.
A mother turned her daughter into police after finding out that she had killed someone for $60. Kenyatta Hayes, age 26, has been charged with first-degree murder in perpetration of a robbery. Officers responded to reports of a shooting and found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police released this footage of a potential suspect on social media. The next day, a woman told police that her daughter was the person in the video and took her to the homicide office. Hayes reportedly told Memphis police that she was at the Marathon gas station on Lamar Avenue when a man offered to give her $60 in exchange for freaky activities. According to Hayes, she never planned on performing the act. Instead, she wanted to rob him. Reports state that when they got to the park, Hayes shot the man and took the cash. She then left the scene on foot. Hayes told police she was thirsty for money and spent $47 on 2 hot wing combos for herself and her boyfriend after the shooting. She is now being held in custody on very serious charges. Do you think her mother did the right thing by turning her into police? Let me know in the comments.
Heard of the 16-year-old boy who raped a girl so bad that he blinded her and paralyzed her. His victim was Queena, who was also a high school student at the time. She was dropping off books at the Bloomingdale Regional Public Library, and Morris decided to attack her. Morris dragged Queena around the building, and he violently raped and beat her. Queena is now unable to swallow, to walk, to talk, or function on her own. So what's really odd is that Queena was on the phone, and she felt the weird vibes because he was sitting on a bench across from the library. He was staring her down, and she was telling her friends, like, look, this guy is creepy. I'm ready to just return the books and go back. As she was walking back, her friends heard her screaming on the phone. So one of them made a frantic phone call to 911, and they also rushed to the scene where they saw there was blood trails everywhere. Her phone also was snapped in half and partially under the car. Now you may be wondering what happened to Morris. Have y'all heard of the 16-
Stayed up for nights, for days, panicking and being so fearful. God, please don't let my baby be dead. Please, God, don't let my baby be just thrown away like she's nothing. These are the things that I prayed. I was fasting, my children not getting sleep. We're not eating, can't go to work. I'm a single parent. Everything that I do is for my children. Every ounce of money and time or whatever and energy is for them. It's to make sure that they're good. It's to make sure that they're surrounded by people that love them and protect them. Then why didn't you think about my baby? What if you were so high you didn't know she was alive? And you just threw her in a dumpster in the cold without a coat? I stayed up for nights, for days, panicking and being so fearful. God,
Celebrities rotting in prison in 2024. Jerry Harris gained notoriety when he appeared in the Netflix series Cheer. In September 2020, he was arrested for soliciting and receiving inappropriate media from males. He later confessed to authorities that he had a physical encounter with a 15-year-old when he was 19. In February 2022, he pleaded guilty to reduced charges. He was later sentenced to 12 years in prison. He is expected to be released in January 2031. Joe Exotic had a feud with animal rights activist Carol Baskin that started in 2009. Baskin was trying to stop commercial cub petting and went after Exotic's traveling shows and tried to shut them down. Since that was Exotic's primary source of income, he tried to hire hitmen to end her life. He was later convicted of 2 counts of murder for hire and 17 counts of animal abuse. He was sentenced to 21 years in prison. Celebrity are the most evil women crimes from the 1800s. Part 1. In late 1892, Cordelia Botkin left her husband and started hooking up with journalist John Dunning. John's wife, Mary Dunning, learned of the affair and left him. After 6 years, John broke off his affair with Botkin before he was sent away to cover the Spanish-American War. He was planning to reunite with Mary when he returned home. Botkin was upset, so she decided to end Mary's life. She bought some candy, put some arsenic inside it, and sent it to Mary, along with a note that said, "With love to yourself and baby, passionately fond of candy." Mary, her sister, Ida Harriet Dean, and 4 others consumed the treats. Mary and Harriet died from the poison. The 4 others survived. Police located the store where the candy was sold and traced it back to Botkin. On December 31, 1898, she was sentenced to life in prison. She died on March 7, 1910. These are the most evil women crimes from the 1800s. Part 2. Williamina Minnie Dean was born in Scotland in 1847. In 1868, she moved to New Zealand, and 4 years later, she married Charles Dean. At some point in the 1880s, she started a baby farming business. She would take in the illegitimate children of local women. In 1889, a child died 3 days after Minnie took him in. Police were suspicious, but the child's death was later ruled to be from natural causes. In May 1891, a 6-week-old died soon after Minnie took him in. Once again, police had suspicions, but the child's death was also ruled to be from natural causes. Minnie kept a low profile for the next 4 years, but in May 1895, she slipped up. Someone saw her get on a train with a baby, but get off without one. Police caught up with Minnie and found 2 babies' bodies buried in the flower bed of her residence. She was convicted of murder and became the only woman in New Zealand. These are the
hole in, and they tie string around, and then they put all around the body, but they're naked, and they got this tattoo on the private with like little piercings.
Okay.
Not like earrings, but like little gold piercings around the private.
Yeah.
And they all dance around with skulls on in the church there.
Okay.
So they have skulls, like the teachers and the staff, they got 20 skulls each.
And how do you know they've got 20 each?
Yes, because I counted once. They were like, there's one here, and then there's one here, and there's one on the neck here. Like they looks like skulls everywhere, on the knees, on the elbows. It looks like armor.
Okay. So if I was to try and find these skulls, where would I find them?
Yes, in the church.
Where in the church?
So there's this secret rooms. They got secret rooms.
Go on. Tell me, how do I find the secret?
So when you go in the secret rooms, because they hide it in loads of places.
Would you be able to help me find them, would you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
but they just hide them anywhere. They just hide it like in one place, then they move to other place, then they move to other place. There's just...
Okay, so I go into the church now.
Yes, and they hide, usually they hide it in their houses. Because they
do you
have
know that?
parties in their houses.
Okay.
Because
And
Mr.
how do you know
Hollings,
that?
my teacher,
Yes.
he lives in Highgate.
Right.
Yes. You can see his house because his Porsche,
Yeah.
he got Porsche and it's just at the front of his house.
Okay. So, how do you know he keeps them in his house?
Because I know he touches me in the private. He touches me in the private. He sticks a plastic willy
Yeah.
in my bottom, and it bleeds then.
Okay. So,
He touches me in the private. He touches me in the private.
Celebrities that killed people. Don King dropped out of college in the early 1950s and started running an illegal bookmaking operation. In 1954, a man named Hillary Brown tried to rob one of King's gambling houses. 23-year-old King pumped hot lead into the guy's back and ended his life. When the case went to court, King claimed it was self-defense and he was acquitted. Shockingly, this wasn't the only person King killed. 12 years later, 35-year-old King got into a dispute with Sam Garrett. 34-year-old Garrett claimed he owed King $600, but King claimed it was $900. Things got physical and King Pistol whipped and stomped the man out. 2 detectives that were in the area pulled King off the unconscious man and arrested him. Garrett died 5 days later. King went to trial and was convicted of second-degree murder. It was later reduced to voluntary manslaughter and he only served 3 years and 11 months in prison. Celebrity.
1950 into a very wealthy family. Since my adolescent years, I became a frequent guest at London's grandest balls and events. By 1870, amidst the opulence of London's elite, I stood out, not for any particular talent or wit, but for an almost unnatural beauty. The talented Basil Hallward, a close friend, was captivated by my beauty and decided to immortalize it in a portrait. This painting was a masterpiece. It looked so lifelike that it seemed to be alive. Soon, at one of the glamorous dinners and between rounds of alcohol, Lord Henry, always the tempter, whispered to me,
"Wouldn't it be wondrous if the portrait aged while you stayed forever young?"
Late one fateful night, after perhaps too much wine and in a fit of vanity, I wished for it, that my painting should age and bear the weight of my sins, while I remained forever young. At that moment I didn't believe it could be even possible, but dark forces listened and granted my desire. Soon, in 1872, I fell in love with Sybil Vane, a brilliant actress in a shabby theatre. Overwhelmed with passion, I promised to marry her, but soon after, I grew disappointed in her talents and abandoned her. The next morning after our breakup, I woke up to the horrible news.
The moment a nurse who killed a patient by giving them the wrong medication is spared jail time. Redonda Vaught was supposed to give 75-year-old Charlene Murphy a mild sedative before a routine procedure, but instead she gave her a lethal dose of the paralyzing agent vecuronium, which comes with this clear warning label. Vaught was convicted of gross neglect of an impaired adult and negligent homicide on Friday after a 3-day trial. The victim's family told the judge to show mercy and made it clear that they forgive Vaught and claimed the victim would also want her to be forgiven. They also made it clear that they did not want her to go to jail. Vaught was facing up to 6 years in prison. However, she broke down in court after she was given 3 years probation. Vaught's trial had been closely watched by nurses and medical professionals across the U.S., many of whom worry it could set a precedent of criminalizing medical mistakes. Nurses around the country celebrated when she was spared jail time. What do you think about the verdict?
This lady is not as innocent as she looks. In Cyclone City, Iowa, there lived a 48-year-old lady named Wanda Hickey. Now a widow, she racked up millions of dollars after her previous 4 marriages ended abruptly from the strange passings of her husbands. They all passed in the same way in the same location at the bottom of the staircase from an apparent fall. But due to Wanda's several health conditions, they were all ruled accidental. One day, Wanda would receive a phone call from a Nigerian prince telling her she had a virus on her computer and that he could fix it for her, and that all she needed to do was buy $100,000 in Google Play cards. She would respond saying, "Honey, I don't even own a computer. And if you're looking for a sugar mama, all you had to do was ask." The prince would accept the invite to her home, even though he lived far away. He would show up to her front door a few days later. When Wanda opened the door, she would tell the prince to give Mama a hug. The prince could smell a foul odor coming from inside the home and was having second thoughts. He would then turn around and begin running away from the house. When he turned around, he would see Wanda right on his tail, and she was much faster than he expected, quickly gaining ground on him. He would then reach the end of the driveway, which was half a mile long, and realize the front gate to the property had been closed. He would then realize his nightmare had just begun. This lady is not as innocent.
then they saw something that they had not noticed before. A man in a white t-shirt and dark shorts followed Kelsey wherever she went. He kept his distance so Kelsey wouldn't suspect anything, but he was always there. There was no doubt that this man was following Kelsey. When Kelsey approached checkout to pay for the goods, he unhurriedly headed for the exit. He obviously left the store first to wait for her in the parking lot. Soon after, the police managed to get a clearer image of his face. It wasn't of perfect quality, but they hoped someone would identify this person. The police asked for help from the community to identify the man. The number of calls with possible leads exceeded 1,000. It took a lot of time to check this amount of data. Detectives tried to filter out the information that probably had nothing to do with the case. The police interrogated several people who looked like this man, but none of them was the one they needed to find. The breakthrough in this case happened after the police tracked down Kelsey's phone. After she disappeared, her phone was active in a wooded area near Longview Lake, Missouri, about 15 miles from Target. By this time, the FBI had joined the investigation. They organized the search in the area where Kelsey's phone was last active. About 200 people took part in it. Kelsey was found 4 days after her abduction, and just 45 minutes after her cell phone company provided information about her cell phone activity. That's worth paying special attention to. We'll come back to this issue later. Unfortunately, she was dead. The criminal tried to hide the traces of the crime, leaving her body under the leaves and tree branches. Kelsey was naked, which revealed the motive of this crime. Her belongings were a few feet away from her. During the forensic examination, the experts determined that Kelsey died of strangulation. The criminal used her own belt to take her life. The police had to tell her parents the worst news of their lives. The news about Kelsey's death was heartbreaking for her family and friends. The criminal was still out there, and the police needed to find him as soon as possible because they feared he might kidnap someone else. All the police had at this investigation stage was CCTV footage. Therefore, the investigators decided to study them again. Knowing that someone abandoned Kelsey's car in the parking lot at 9:17 p.m., the officers decided to look at what was happening in the Target parking lot during the same time. They saw a man running up to a dark pickup truck parked in the parking lot, getting inside and quickly driving away. It was at 9:22 p.m., but it could have been a coincidence that had nothing to do with this case. It was already dark when the pickup truck left the Target parking lot. But what if the person driving that car arrived there during daylight hours? The investigators rewound the recording, and it confirmed their assumptions. The blue pickup truck pulled into the Target parking lot at 6:55 p.m. Kelsey drove into the parking lot a minute later, parking next to this pickup truck by some evil coincidence. Perhaps that's when the criminal saw her for the first time. And then
secret, her burning desire to be a mother, concealed an unimaginable horror. What I'm about to share with you is not only shocking, it's beyond what any of us could imagine a mother doing to her own child. Get ready for a story as tragic as it is true. This little angel's name is Garnet Spears. From the moment he was born, he had health problems, and his mother, Lacey, seemed desperate to find a cure. Imagine baffled doctors, an innocent child in pain. Nothing was adding up until January 2014. The world lost Garnet. A life full of suffering ended too soon. The grief was unimaginable, but so was the truth behind it. Investigators uncovered the unthinkable. Lacey had been secretly feeding her son lethal doses of salt, seeking attention at the cost of her child's life. An unthinkable betrayal from someone who was supposed to be his protector, his mother. This story reminds us that sometimes the monsters we fear are closer than we think.
Forgot we're in prison. 25 celebrities you forgot were in prison.
Was Rasputin hated by the people of Russia? Grigory Rasputin, often referred to as the Mad Monk, is one of the most notorious figures in Russian history. His rise to influence began during World War I when Tsar Nicholas II left to oversee military operations, leaving his wife, Tsarina Alexandra, to govern. Rumors swirled around Rasputin, suggesting he belonged to a radical sect of the Orthodox Church and possessed mystical healing powers. These supposed abilities gained him favor with the Tsarina, particularly through his alleged miraculous treatments of her son Alexis, who suffered from hemophilia. As Rasputin's influence within the royal family grew, so did his reputation for antisocial behavior and drunkenness. His closeness to the royal family, especially the Tsarina, sparked rumors of an inappropriate relationship with her, which tarnished the family's reputation further. Widely resented and mistrusted, Rasputin was ultimately assassinated by royalist forces in 1916. Why was Rasputin hated by the people?
This boy was set on fire while tied to a tree on the day of his birthday. Robert Ray Robbie Middleton was just 8 years old when he was brutally attacked on his birthday while making his way through the woods to his friend's home. He was tied to a tree before being doused with gasoline and set on fire. When the rope burned and Robbie was free from the tree, he attempted to stagger home but collapsed in a ball of flames on the street. His mother discovered her son blistered beyond recognition and barely clinging to life. Robbie was rushed to the hospital. He suffered third-degree burns to 99% of his small body. Only the soles of his feet remained untouched. His parents were told that he wouldn't survive, but miraculously he did. He would go on to have to endure 150 operations. However, his organs were damaged beyond repair by the fire, and at the age of 20, in 2011, Robbie passed away from a rare form of skin cancer that doctors attributed to his original injuries. A coroner ruled Middleton's death a homicide. Just prior to his death, Robbie left a 27-minute video testimony on his deathbed naming the perpetrator, who he believed had tortured him, as Don Wilburn Collins, a 13-year-old neighbour at the time of the attack. Collins had allegedly SA Middleton in the same location of the torching just 2 weeks earlier, and Collins' attempt to murder Middleton was to ensure that Middleton would never reveal the secret. Collins had been jailed for SA of another 8-year-old boy and served time in jail. He also served time for failing to register as an SX offender, but was released from prison on September 5, 2011. In December 2011, the Middleton family was granted $150 billion in compensation by the jury. This was a symbolic verdict requested by the family's lawyer, becoming the biggest compensation ever awarded by a US civil jury. Although they never expected to receive any of the money, Middleton's mother considered it a successful statement. On February 9, 2015, a jury convicted Collins of murder in the death of Robbie Middleton. The top 50 most dangerous UK prisoners serving whole life orders. Number 47, Mark Fellows. Nicknamed the Iceman, Mark Fellows is an English hitman who often wore military-style fatigues and carried a submachine gun when committing his murders. He was found guilty of killing Paul Massey outside his home in 2015 and John Kinsella in 2018 while he walked with his pregnant partner Wendy Owen. Fellows' trial lasted 8 weeks with heavily armed police officers in attendance, alongside fellow criminal and accomplice Stephen Boyle. Found guilty of the murders of both Massey and Kinsella, he was sentenced to a whole life order. He has been attacked multiple times in prison and was once airlifted to hospital from Whitemoor Prison in 2019. Fellows picked up a further sentence of life with a minimum term of 9 years for conspiracy to cause grievous bodily harm. Top
facts about the Menendez brothers. Fact 1. Both men are married. Lyle was married from 1996 to 2001 to Anna Erickson. In 2003, he married Rebecca Sneed, and the two are still married to this day. Eric has been married for 25 years. He tied the knot with Tammy Sackerman in 1999. Fact 2. They are a part of NBA history. After they took their parents' lives, the two men spent time in New York and went to a Knicks game. A basketball card of Knicks player Mark Jackson showed the brothers sitting courtside in the background. Fact 3. They are in the same prison. In 2018, Lyle was moved to Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, where his brother was housed. The two were eventually placed in the same unit. That was their first time seeing each other in 22 years. Fact 4. Lyle's first name is not Lyle. He was born Joseph Lyle Menendez on January 10, 1968, but he goes by his middle name. 4 facts about
person is fun. Forget that that person might be your enemy, that person may have done something bad to you. The process of watching someone in pain is enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but we're not going to do it just to anybody.
Yeah, jump in here, guys. Come on.
Whatever.
What do your parents think about it?
What? Well, they don't approve it, but we ain't going to listen to them anyways, so.
You said you guys don't understand because you're different from us. How are we different from you?
Because you guys ain't gangsters. You guys don't know what we're going through or
you guys
whatever.
Don't have people going up to you every day asking you where you're from? You guys don't have people drive by in your house?
But you chose to get in the gang. You said you wanted to be in the gang. No one forced you to.
Yeah.
Hey, have you and your girls ever, killed anybody? Do you feel guilty about it?
No.
No.
No, you don't.
And about killing,
you've never killed anyone.
No.
We don't know about that because we don't go back and check if we do a drive-by.
Another person is.
Take some seeds if you want. They are delicious and
I like them.
In August 1980, Lindy and Michael Chamberlain went camping with their 9-month-old daughter, Azaria. On August 17, 1980, Azaria was sleeping in their tent alone when Lindy heard her cry out. Lindy reported seeing a dingo running away from the tent, and Azaria was missing. Authorities didn't believe the story and arrested the couple. Lindy was given a life sentence for murder, while Michael got a suspended sentence for being an accessory after the fact. Lindy was released from prison in 1986 when Azaria's jacket was found in an area with multiple dingo lairs. Azaria's body was never found. Forrest Shab, who performed under the name D.Y. or Die Young, started rapping in 1998 when he was 14. The Vancouver-based artist released 3 mixtapes between 2003 and 2009. In August 2010, Shab went to Mexico. He was active on Facebook and Twitter up until September 8th. On November 18, 2014, he was reported missing by family members. To this day, he has not been seen or heard from. People that disappeared and
Cause I got a roof over my head, I got a warm body in bed. I'm doing alright, right where I'm at, with what I have. I got a Jeep, I got a dog, I got what they call a dream job. Plenty to want, nothing wrong with that, but I'm happy with what I have. I got the air, good eyes to see,